a bit of a book haul slash my August TBR to share with you today. I think that it's going to be a really good reading month. 2 weeks of vacation coming up. It's my longest break of the entire year, and I think I'm gonna do a lot of reading during my time off. And today I'm gonna be showing you through the books that I hope to read. First off, The Spear Cuts Through Water by Simon Jimenez. This book I've already started, and I'm totally swept into the river of prose at this point. It's a very unique storytelling style. There is a main voice that is talking to us in the second person. So it says, "You remember your grandmother saying this," or "You saw your brothers in the other room listening to the radio." But then within that, there are other characters and they have italicized thoughts. And it's not restricted to just certain characters. It's pretty much every character that we meet, we get to hear an inner reflection from them as well. So it's very layered, and I really never read anything like it, and I have no idea where this story is going. We haven't really fully set up the quest aspect that I know is coming in this book. I'm not exactly sure who our principal characters are so far. I don't know if it is us as you, or if it is going to be some other characters who are introduced. The people suffer under the centuries-long rule of the Moon Throne. The royal family, the despotic emperor and his monstrous sons, the Three Terrors, hold the countryside in their choking grip. They bleed the land and oppress the citizens with the frightful powers they inherited from the god locked under their palace. But that god cannot be contained forever. With the aid of Jun, a guard broken by his guilt-stricken past, and Kima, an outcast fighting for his future, the god escapes from her royal captivity and flees from her own children, the triplet terrors who would drag her back to her unholy prison. And so it is that she embarks with her young new companions on a 5-day pilgrimage in search of freedom and a way to end the Moon Throne forever. The journey ahead will be more dangerous than any of them could ever have imagined. That is definitely a book that I plan to read within this month. And then the next that I'm currently reading is called Welcome to Glorious Tuga by Francesca Segal. I fell in love with Francesca Segal's book Mothership, which is a memoir about her twin girls and their time spent in the NICU during their early months of life. Her writing is just so beautiful and reflective. This one is a little bit of a different flavor for her. It's a novel, and we're following a veterinarian who is coming to live on this island called Tuga. She's there specifically to study the golden coin tortoises that live on the island, and she's never been there before, but she's not only there for a year of residency among the islanders, but she's also hoping to find her father, because she knows that her father came from this place, but she doesn't even know what his name is. So she really hopes to find him as well during her year there. So far, I followed her getting off the boat and just her initial experience being introduced to where she's going to live. All very amusing and whimsical. It's been a real joy to read so far, and I think that this has the potential to be a 4 or 5-star book. I'm going to be venturing forward into the second book of this series, The Remembrance of Earth's Past, which begins with the 3-body problem and continues with the Dark Forest. Earth is still reeling from the revelation of a coming alien invasion. The aliens' human collaborators may have been defeated, but the presence of sophons, the subatomic particles that allow Trisolaris instant access to all human information, means that Earth's defense plans are totally exposed to the enemy. Only the human mind remains a secret. This is the motivation for the Wallfacer Project, a daring plan that grants 4 people enormous resources to design secret strategies, hidden through deceit and misdirection from Earth and Trisolaris alike. 3 of the Wallfacers are influential statesmen and scientists, but the 4th is a total unknown. Lord G, An unambitious Chinese astronomer and sociologist is baffled by his new status. All he knows is that he's the one wall-facer that Tri-Solaris wants dead. This is a lot of people's favorite of the trilogy, so I'm excited. Next, I have a Joanne Harris book, and that is Peaches for Monsieur le Coeur. This is book 3 in her Chocolat series. I also have book 4, and I almost started it first because of when it takes place in the year. Each of her novels has dates at the top of each chapter, and this one starts on August 10th. It isn't often you receive a letter from the dead. When Vianne Rocher receives such a message, she has no choice but to return to Lasquinette, where she once owned a chocolate shop and learned the meaning of home. But returning to one's past can be a dangerous pursuit, and Vianne and her daughters find the beautiful French village changed in unexpected ways. I really love getting to read books around the time that they're set, so I've been saving this one up, and I will be beginning it very soon. I also have already read a few books this month, and one of them was The Moonlight Market, and I just loved getting back into her purple prose. It's just so fairy tale-esque and sweet. If you have read one of her books, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Next, a book that is on my 24 books for 2024 TBR. I'm going to be reading The Remains of the Day by Kazuo Ishiguro. This will be my second book by the author. I have already read Never Let Me Go. Unfortunately, that book was a little bit of a letdown for me, and I think it's purely because I got spoiled for what's going on in the book before I had finished reading it. In fact, before I'd even started reading it, I got spoiled because I read the description of the film adaptation and it gave away the entire premise, which in the book is not revealed to the end. We're following a butler with very loyal sensibilities, but perhaps not the most integrity-driven employer. There's a very short description on the back of this book. In the summer of 1956, Stevens, the aging butler of Darlington Hall, embarks on a leisurely holiday that will take him deep into the countryside and into his past. That's all we get. Another book that I have on my TBR for this month that is set in August is this one. It's Summer's End by Juno Black. This is the 5th book? Yes, it's the 5th book in the Shady Hollow mystery series, which I love. It's late August in Shady Hollow. An intrepid reporter, Vera Vixen, agrees to chaperone the school's annual field trip to Summer's End, an ancient tomb built by an early woodland culture. Naturally, her good friend Lenore Lee comes along to help. But when the group enters the tomb one morning, they find a corpse that is distinctly more modern than they expected. Digging deeper, Vera and Lenore discover that the deceased was involved in the recent excavation at the site, and very unpopular with their colleagues, including Lenore's own sister, Ligeia. Now, the Fox and Raven must delve into the dark world of academia and archaeology to clear Ligeia's name. Some creature at Summer's End thought they were clever enough to get away with the perfect murder. Can Vera and Lenora unearth the truth in time? Shady Hollow is a lot like Stars Hollow as far as a walkable city that we all wish existed in the real world. I just love living here temporarily with these characters to solve a crime. This one is set in late August, so I might hold off on reading it a couple more weeks, but I'm excited to get to it. Next, I have 4 books that I chose from Book of the Month. They offer 5 titles for you to choose from, and then you can choose from a selection of add-on books. And this month, the add-ons were particularly attractive to me, so I got 1 core book of the 5, and then I had 3 other add-ons that I was interested in. And the first one is actually a pick from last month that I did not choose, and that is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I have to be honest with you, I read the excerpt of this book last month, and it wasn't the most enticing to me, but I am going to read this one soon purely because it is so dang popular right now, and I want to figure out why. And there are not as many copies yet on Pangobooks as you would expect the month after, so I'm wondering if some people are taking their time reading it or if it's a keeper for many of the readers. So I'm interested to dive into this one and figure out what the hype is all about. Early morning, August 1975. A camp counselor discovers an empty bunk. Its occupant, Barbara Van Laar, has gone missing. Barbara isn't just any 13-year-old. She's the daughter of the family that owns the summer camp and employs most of the region's residents. And this isn't the first time a Van Laar child has disappeared. Barbara's older brother similarly vanished 14 years ago, never to be found. As a panicked search begins, a thrilling drama unfolds, chasing down the layered mysteries of the Van Laar family and the blue-collar community living and working in its shadow. Moore's multi-threaded story invites readers into a rich and gripping dynasty of secrets. My next selection was The Days I Loved You Most by Amy Neff. This is apparently a sad but touching story about an older couple who are anticipating what life will be like without the other of them. They're facing some health challenges. They've brought their children together in their beachside home to tell them exactly what's going on and their plans for the future. From what I've heard, there's a bit of a twist and their plans don't come to fruition the way they anticipated. Also going to get some shifting perspective back in time to when they initially met and their journey together in their relationship. It kicks off in a New England beach home, and that is a bucket list vacation spot for me. Our children sit across from us on the sagging couch. They are silent. The two lamps nearest us glow yellow beneath their shades. Joseph clicked them on as the room darkened, no one willing to interrupt the conversation to stand and flip on the lights overhead. Moonlight spills onto the dual pianos in the study, glinting off the ivory keys. The windows are open to the night that moved in as we spoke, and the air is stale and thick, exceptionally hot for late spring in Connecticut. The only sound is the whirring ceiling fan above and the echo of waves from Bernard Beach around the bend. Immediately hooked by the excerpt of this one, and I can't wait to finish it. My next to last book is The Wedding People by Alison Esbach. And this book was the one that I kind of had to pick because I had to pick one of the 5-month selections. We have two characters that are kind of thrown into each other's path unexpectedly. One is very bitter and grieving, and then the other is a newlywed. I think that there's an element of wedding crashing to this book. It's a beautiful day in Newport, Rhode Island when Phoebe Stone arrives at the Grand Cornwall Inn wearing a green dress and gold heels, not a bag in sight, alone. She's immediately mistaken by everyone in the lobby for one of the wedding people, but she's actually the only guest at the Cornwall who isn't here for the big event. Phoebe is here because she's dreamed of coming for years. She's hoped to shuck oysters and take sunset sails with her husband, only now she's here without him, at rock bottom, and determined to have one last decadent splurge on herself. Meanwhile, the bride has accounted for every detail and every possible disaster the weekend might yield, except for, well, Phoebe. And Phoebe's plan, which makes it that much more surprising when the two women can't stop confiding in each other. It reminds me a lot of like chaotic 90s movies like Anger Management, or something that has two main characters who are really clashing, but they still have things to learn from one another. I'm intrigued by how this one is going to go. Last but not least, I have a surprisingly beautiful edition of A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher. I honestly have not seen a cover like this from Book of the Month ever. This one has varnish in the center circle, and then it also has gold foiling, and I don't know, you'll have to tell me if you've seen another book that had this much print finishing done on it, because it looks almost as nice as the standard edition that you would get in your bookstore. Very unexpectedly surprised by this one. I've read A House with Good Bones by this author. I didn't finish her other fantasy leaning novel, but I think that this one is going to be a nice balance between mystery and fantasy. We have a main character who is, I think, cursed or trying to overcome something, and that's a theme that I really love from one of my favorite books, Ella Enchanted. So when I saw that we have a younger main character and she's dealing with a curse, that was kind of all that I needed to sell me on this one. Cordelia knows her mother is unusual. Their house doesn't have any doors between rooms. There are no secrets in this house. And her mother doesn't allow Cordelia to have a single friend, unless you call it Falada, her mother's beautiful white horse. The only time Cordelia feels truly free is on her daily rides with him. But more than simple eccentricity sets her mother apart. Other mothers don't force their daughters to be silent and motionless for hours, sometimes days on end. Other mothers aren't evil sorcerers. When her mother unexpectedly moves them into the manor home of a wealthy older squire and his kind but keen-eyed sister, Hester, Cordelia knows this welcoming pair are to be her mother's next victims. But Cordelia feels at home for the very first time among these people, and as her mother's plans darken, she must decide how to face the woman who raised her to save the people who have become like family. Oh, I love a good found family theme in a book, and I think this is going to be fun, yet maybe a little twisted, so we'll see. So these are all the books that I hope to read in the month of August, and I'm so excited to share my thoughts with you as I complete these. Let me know if you've read any of these in the comments below, or if you have one of them on your TBR as well. Happy end of summer reading! I'll see you in another video soon.